fantastic. This is GT racing right now.
He's got traction, he's going with the outside of both of them! Maloney!
Oh, he's taken Anderson! Anderson's up to him!
Oh my god! Big crash! Oh my goodness, half the field's gonna get rolled!
Second very close. These guys are want to make their way through the field very quickly. This is it! This is over! I can't believe this! Oh my god!
God, what?
Welcome one and welcome all to SimSpeed TV this Thursday night. Last year, we had a fantastic running of the Oceanic Dirt Sim Events 360 Power Series, and this year, in 2021, we get to do it all again. 360 Sprint Cars Power Series 2, presented by SRT Australia, run, of course, by Oceanic Dirt Sim Events, and broadcast by us here at SimSpeed TV. 360 Sprint Cars in an 8-round championship to decide who is the best in the Dirt 360 Sprint Car. My name is Reese Gardner, and joining me in the commentary box, as always, Cameron Dance. Cameron, we're at Volusia Speedway Park for round 1 of this series. Once again, a fantastic circuit to open the season.
I'm here every single time for a season opener, and it seems to just produce some unbelievable racing, no matter what car we're in, whether in the 360s, the 410s, the big block modifieds, it doesn't matter. It's a really, really good track. Produces really, really good racing, so looking forward to seeing what tonight's going to produce.
Yes, indeed. We've got prize money on board for this series as well. Weekly payouts, thanks to our series sponsors. And this is the championship that we've got. We've got Volusia, of course, for round 1, and Cedar Lake and Lernerville for rounds 2 and 3. We go to the mighty Williams Grove for round 4, and then get a bit shorter, Lanier for the 5th round, then the magnificent Eldora Speedway for round 6, Kokomo and Charlotte to finish off the season at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, pretty much every Thursday. Really looking forward to seeing how this championship goes, because this series has generally been one of the best for racing in all of ODSE's championships. We saw a great run last season, some great battling between the likes of Joel Berkeley, Lewis Hewitt, and Trent Gosley, with Alex Bergeron getting in there on the action as well. We've got a full complement of drivers here today, and a lot of them are returning.
We're seeing a lot of familiar faces out here tonight, with the fact that you've got the likes of Tim Ryan and Joel Berkeley and a few others deciding to get back out here and get back into the swing of things. So going to be interesting to see what sort of battles we're going to see happen tonight, and who's going to end up coming away as the victor.
Yes, indeed. Well, we're looking for qualifying to start pretty soon. But just before we do, I want to give a shout out to the sponsors of this series. Weekly payouts, the winner all up of the round gets $30 cold hard cash. That's $20 from SRT and Oceanic Dirt Sim Events, plus a $10 bonus from the Dirt Sprint Car Championship Series, which is pretty much ODSE's American counterpart, and serves as the off-season for the iRacing Pro Sprint Car World Championship, and up to 10th place in every single round gets payouts all the way down to $2. You also get $2.50 for the quick time in qualifying, thanks to BB7 setups, and the same amount from the same sponsor for the hard charger in the A main. And of course, Brody Wilhelm from Dirt Sprint Car Championship Series has a $10 bonus for the winner each week. So the drivers are racing for more than just glory here. They've got money on the line as well.
There's a little bit of extra incentive for the drivers to try and perform, and also try and work their way through that field as well, and try and do a bit of a quick lap in qualifying. So hopefully we don't see too much sandbagging to try and make the invert work, although there is no invert, so it's going to be interesting to see what happens. But nevertheless, it's certainly a very, very nice incentive for a lot of the drivers.
Yeah, certainly. Not only that, no invert, of course, like we saw in the ASC Championship or the Big Block Modified Madness Series, but there is a bit of a difference for the deciding for pole. We've done pole shuffles in the past, but this time we're going for a pole dash. The top two from each heat are going to have an out-and-out race in the warm-up session to decide their starting order for the feature grid, so I can't wait for that. And there's certainly going to be some fireworks. But going into this season, Joel Berkeley dominating the Big Block Modified Madness series, and it seemed that he had the measure of just about everyone in that particular car. But now we're back in the 360 sprint car. It means that the pecking order is pretty much wide open. We've got many drivers here who can come away with wins, such as Harry Stewart, the number 11 from New Zealand. We've had Brad O'Brien perform really well in the 360 sprint car as well. And can't forget drivers like Bob King and Daniel Hartigan, who always manage to put themselves there up the top.
Certainly a number of drivers in this field tonight who can certainly mix it with the big boys and be up the front of the field, although, like you said, it's probably going to be quite tough to beat the likes of Tim Ryle and Joel Berkeley, who are probably the benchmark drivers in this series with how this is looking. So we'll have to see what happens, but I reckon it's going to be a very, very hard-fought series all along, and every single feature we're going to see some unbelievable results possibly.
Indeed, we shall. Well, the drivers going out onto the track here at Volusia Speedway Park for their installation laps before we go into qualifying. Practice is only going to last for a minute as we focus on the Frog League Racing Team's Cooper Dunn briefly. The number 51 of Clayton Tilley for Momentum Sim Sport. He's another driver who we should look out for in this series. He made a very good name for himself in the ASC Championship with some great results. Unfortunately, not quite able to capitalize on every single opportunity given to him. There's certainly been some big incidents in the sprint cars. We've got to think about Max Lumsden as well for SM Sim Sport. He's been on the up recently, and he could certainly come away with a couple of victories this season.
Yeah, he certainly could. We've seen some very, very good pace from him in the previous seasons of this, as well as other various series. So, certainly going to be one to watch, and possibly is the dark horse, I reckon, in this series, with the fact that he's just going to be looming in the background. And certainly is going to be able to take away some very, very good results should those ahead fall out of line.
Well, you're seeing the preferred line already start to form there at Volusia as the practice session is over and we move into qualifying. The drivers are only going to get 2 laps worth of times in, and the qualifying only goes for 3 minutes. Volusia is one of those circuits where the preferred line is usually down towards the bottom at this point when the track is clean, but you're going to be seeing the line move up the circuit. Tristan Yelland fighting MND and still managing to put himself out on the track. It's always great to see Tristo out there. I hope he can come away with some great results this season.
Yeah, certainly be good to see him get some good results and see what he can do tonight as well behind the wheel of this 360 machine. But so far, it's looking like everybody's done reasonable times. It's not too far off the likes of Josh Barry and Hayden Vickers on his first lap, so looking like it's been a pretty good start so far. Ethan Bastian, though, what can he do? He's had some reasonable results in the past as well. It sets his first lap and actually doesn't count, so interesting that he's possibly hit the wall there, but we'll see what he does on his second lap as he comes through turns 3 and 4 right up against the inside wall as well, trying to maximize the shortest way around the track, and only does a 13.9.38.
Yeah, that's not the greatest qualifying performance there from Ethan Bastian. He's going to be starting quite a ways down the order and have to work out a spot in his particular heat. Joel Berkeley wasting no time putting himself up near the top. Harry Stewart, though, setting that time right at the start of the session, putting himself in a very good position here with the pole for Heat 1. John Billington for Crookie Motorsport there in the 95. Unfortunately, not able to get a time in that he would be happy with down there in the 30s in terms of position. What about Clayton Tilley then in the number 51? He's one of the drivers waiting till the end of the session. 4 times, a 13.694 for Tilley. And wow, I mean, it shows you how competitive and close the field is. If he was just able to find a 10th, he'd be up in the top 5 in qualifying.
Yeah, so it certainly goes to show how tight it is. He's done a 7.93, so he hasn't improved there. But what's Tim Ryan going to do? This man has been on an absolute charge. We've seen some incredible things from him in the past, but what's going to happen tonight in that ODSE Esports machine, who knows? But coming through 3 and 4 right up on the high line, trying to build as much momentum possible before shooting it down at the front straight to head in towards turn 1 and running a little bit higher than we possibly would have expected compared to everybody else. Possibly see something that the rest of the field don't, but nevertheless, it's looking like it's going to be a reasonable lap time. Comes across the line, and it's going to be a 13.539.
Wow, yeah, more than reasonable. That is pole position. And Braden Shooten, the number 76, has also put in a fantastic time to get himself pole position for the second heat. That's all of the times in. Bob King has not been able to set a time. Only driver to not post a time on the board. But it's time to get into the heats. It's Tim Ryan leading the charge. In Heat 1, he's going to be starting on the front row alongside Brenton Hobson in the Synergy Sim Racing number 88. Trent Gosley shares the second row with Jason Burke. Clayton Tilley manages to put himself 5th alongside Jackson Delamont. Alan Sollett and Jamie Budd line up 7th and 8th with Daniel Evans and Lachlan Barberry rounding out the top 10. And Ethan Bastian, not quite the performance in qualifying he was looking for. He's going to be starting in the 11th and final spot.
Yeah, certainly not where Bastian would have hoped to have been starting. We would have probably preferred to be starting a lot further up. We should have really been starting in the likes of just on the fringe or around that sort of top 5 area. So we'll have to keep an eye on him and see where he ends up at the end of this heat. But he'll certainly want to make his way forward rather quickly so he's not going to squabble his way through the B mains.
Yes, indeed. The top 4 from each heat get a free transfer right through to the feature. So if you finish outside the top 4, you are going to have to make your way through the possible C and the B mains here tonight. And as we mentioned before, the top 2 from each heat go into the pole dash, which we're going to be running in between the B and A mains here tonight. But it's a pretty packed field here. A great turnout for this first round of the season. We've only got 20 seconds left on the grid timer before they pull away on their 2 formation laps. Tim Ryan, of course, leaving it until the very last moment to get himself onto the grid, but now all of the drivers are there. The pace truck is going to pull away and we'll be able to get racing very, very soon. Got 2 lines forming around the circuit, the very bottom and the very high line. So there's a big area in the middle of the track where there's a lot of thick clay, and at least in these first few races, you don't really want to be out there because your grip will be slightly compromised.
Yeah, certainly will, and you probably won't want to be too high as well. So going to be interesting to see what sort of lines we're going to be seeing from most of these drivers. I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of drivers start trying to do some slide jobs, especially on the way through turn 1 with that shallower entry. So expecting a few passing opportunities to be offered up for a few drivers, but certainly it's going to be probably a single file affair for, I'd say, at least this heat.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see, though. At least on these first couple of laps, there's going to be a lot of jostling for position between these drivers. Ethan Bastian wanting to make his way up the field. Clayton Tilley wanting to challenge for that top 4. The likes of Lachlan Barberry trying his best to make his way up there as well. We saw Tim Ryan practicing the start, coming through 3 and 4 on that first formation lap. But now it is for real. The pace truck's going to pull over to the left to the infield pit lane here at Volusia. The green flag flies and they all pack up. Tim Ryan gets a fantastic start. We are racing for the 360 Power Series 2. And Brenton Hobson holding on to second. Oh no, that's bad for Jason Burke. Some contact in the midfield and Jamie Budd's been taken with him. Jackson Delamont also spun.
Yeah, and it all started from a little bit of contact between Tilley and Delamont as well on the way into turn 1, and unfortunately that all turned into chaos rather quickly, unfortunately. So not been the start for a few of those drivers that they will have hoped for, but at the front of the field. It's very, very close for that second and third spot at the moment.
Yeah, the top four look to have broken away from 4th to 8th, so there's 2 groups of 4 cars running at the moment. Brenton Hobson trying to hold off Trent Gosley and Clayton Tilley here, with Gosley working the inside, going a bit further there. Hobbo runs a bit wider to give him racing room, but it seems that he's not really that slow, and these guys are going to have to really work for it. Gosley's been compromised, and oh no! Contact with Clayton Tilley, and bam, into the wall. Alan Sollett collected him as well. Sollett's continued, but Clayton Tilley, with that contact through turn 1, no good. And Trent Gosley's immediately been given a black flag for that. So he's going to be put towards the back of the field now, and Brenton Hobson won't have to worry about much if he passes him. So both Gosley and Tilley could finish outside the top 4 here. Daniel Evans and Lachlan Barberry are currently fighting there for that 4th spot on track.
Yeah, so it's very, very here between Barbary and Evans at the moment, as Barbary's trying the low side on the way through 3 and 4. Not quite going to be getting a little bit of contact between them as well, and that's going to send Barbary back a little bit. But Evans looks like he might have a little bit of pace, but it's probably not going to be enough, as Tim Ryan's coming through the final corner, and he is going to win Heat 1, followed by Hobson Gosley, who's going to have a penalty over his head, so that's going to promote Evans into P3, and I'd say Barbary into P4 by the looks of it.
Yeah, seems to be the way of it. These are the unofficial results from Heat 1. Look for Trent Gosley to be put towards the back of the field potentially. I think the black flag might take effect now. There we go, with Trent Gosley put all the way back to 7th. So your top 4: Ryan, Hobson, Evans, and Barberry. Clayton Tilley just missing out there on that transfer spot, as does Ethan Bastian. Alan Sollett's been given a black flag as well, I think, for not slowing down for the incident with Tilley. But here's the grid then for Heat 2. We're straight into the next heat, and Braden Shute and Jacob Dixon starting on the front row for this one. And it's Cooper Dunn and Tristan Yelland completing at the top 4. On the third row, it's Joe Daly and Alex Attard, with Nathan Norman and Chris Lacey lining up 7th and 8th. It's also 11 cars in this one. The bottom 3 are going to be Blake Walsh, Jason Crawford, and Joshua Dennison. So this is a field that a particular group of drivers that I'm not hugely familiar with. It's going to be interesting to see how they manage to sort themselves out. But Braden Shute, I mean, we know the kind of results that he's capable of. He's put in some fantastic runs in the ASC Championship, running in the 410 sprint car. 50 less cubic inches to work with here, but he's lost none of his pace.
Yeah, he certainly showed some very, very good pace in the past in the 410 sprint cars, like you've said, and certainly showing no signs of slowing down in these 360s either. So it will be very interesting to see what he can do against the likes of Jacob Dixon and Cooper Dunn. So it's going to be a very, very tightly contested win, this one, but I'd say Shute's more than likely the favourite to win this one.
Well, we saw the great start that Tim Ryan got in the last heat, so I'd expect Braden Shute to emulate that. The leader, of course, can go anytime they like within the starting zone at the end of the second formation lap, and it's up to everyone else to respond to them. Jacob Dixon will be keeping a very close eye on the number 76 down there to his left. Shute just pulling a little bit ahead as the pace truck pulls in, waiting for the green flag to fly. And we are away. Braden Shute getting a massive jump there and leading the way as the field fans out behind, coming into turn 1. Already some contact, and looks like Blake Walsh almost turned Nathan Norman around there. And oh no, there's been another first lap incident. Dennison and Walsh have been turned around in a big incident. Alex Attard going wide in turn 4, and they're 3 wide into turn 1 with Jason Crawford and Chris Lacey. Chris Lacey coming up the track, and he's taken out both Attard and the other car there. Goodness me.
Yeah, it's a huge accident there, and unfortunately both of them have come away second best. Jason Crawford coming off very worse indeed, having to tow back to pit lane, but at the moment it's all on for second at the moment, as Cooper Dunn really getting loose there on the exit of 4. Braden Shute's just absolutely checked out from everyone, but Joe Daly's currently got Tristan Yelland all over his tail at the moment for this final transfer spot.
Joe Daly, the teammate of Cooper Dunn, and Dunn was experiencing some technical issues there. I think that's the reason why he and Dixon made contact. Dixon just wasn't sure where Dunn was, but Yelland is really giving Daly a run for his money here as they come around to start lap 6, 3 laps to go. These heats just absolutely fly by, and Nathan Norman will be looking to capitalize on the battle between Daly and Yelland if they come together. He's gaining on them ever so slightly every single lap. But Braden Shute, as you said, Cam, absolutely checked out. He is in no danger whatsoever of losing that lead.
Yeah, he certainly isn't in danger. It's really his to lose at this point with 1 to go at the line. And at this point, it's fair to say he's done an absolutely fantastic job, but it's battles on at the back of the field between Walsh and Dennison, and like Dennison might have just not quite got the drive off the corner, and Walsh is going to slip on by. But the win is going to indeed go to Braden Shute, with Dixon second, Dunn third, and Daly's going to round out the final transferees to the A-main.
Indeed, Tristan Yelland and Joe Daly swapping places there relative to their starting positions. Those are the results. Unfortunately, Chris Lacey has been black flagged, and he's been put all the way to the back of those results. So he'll be looking for a bit of redemption coming into the consolations. But Shute, Dixon, Dunn, and Daly there, top 4. Got to give a shout out to Tristan Yelland, really pushed Joe Daly all the way to the end, and Nathan Norman almost got both of them. If they'd come together, he would have been right there. Either way, it's time for Heat 3, and I'm really looking forward to this one, because it's Harry Stewart on pole with Daniel Gow starting alongside. Max Lumsden and Cameron De Bruyne rounding out the top 4. With Dylan DeBono and Isaac Ruse 5th and 6th, Max Bevan and Chris Nankivell 7th and 8th, Braden Miller 9th, John Billington 10th, and Ashley Hammond rounding out our field here, the sole car on row 6. So Harry Stewart, I think the favourite to win this one, considering the great starts we've seen the pole sitters get here. It looks like one car hasn't taken to the grid there, so it looks like DeBono and Miller have both not taken to the grid here. So hopefully we see them in the B main. Otherwise, that is their night over.
Yeah, certainly going to be making life difficult for themselves, missing the gridding for the heat, and not going to be the way you want to start your night either, with the fact that you're going to be starting off the back of the one of the B mains at least. So really is going to be a little bit of a challenge for them from here on out. But certainly that top 3 is going to be very, very fiercely fought between Lumsden, Gow, and Stewart.
Indeed, Braden Miller's just rejoined the server. Just a minute or so too late to miss taking to the grid. So I think we're definitely going to be seeing him making another appearance later on in the night. But for Stewart and Gow, well, Daniel Gow is going to have to be very careful here with Harry Stewart, how he puts the power down in that United Sim Sports 360 sprint car. They leave a nice gap to the pace truck as it pulls into the pits. Now, when does Stewart decide to go? How big of a surprise is this going to be for the other competitors? He is away, and that is another great jump there from our pole setup. Daniel Gow maintains second place, but Max Lumsden going a bit wide there. Max Bevan almost challenging him, and he's side by side with Cameron De Bruyne, who's really working the cushion very nicely there. There's a slick line forming, and the guys don't want to go too low. Max Bevan was compromised by that, and it's allowed Isaac Ruse to get alongside him and up into 5th place. But it's on for the lead, perhaps the closest lead battle we've seen so far tonight. Harry Stewart and Daniel Gow trading blows.
Yeah, they certainly are, and these two are very, very accustomed to each other as Gow goes to the low side through turn 4, but not quite going to be able to make anything of it. They're absolutely following each other's wheel tracks at the moment. Stewart deciding to go a little bit lower on the way out of turn 2, though, to try and make something happen. And Gow trying the low side on the way through turn 3 and 4 as well. So a little bit of mixture going on in terms of lines through 3 and 4, but they're certainly all over each other at the moment. And so is De Bruyne all over the back of Lumsden too.
Yeah, De Bruyn's really pressuring Max Lumsden for third and fourth. They're not under threat for the transfer spot. The next car up is John Billington, who's made his way into P5, but they're going side by side for the lead. Daniel Gow with some big oversteer down on the bottom. Unfortunately, it has to let Harry Stewart go. They've only got 2 laps left here, so if they want to get some points on the board, remember, points are given out for every session here tonight. So Daniel Gow has got to push incredibly hard here on the final lap as we have the white flag. Oh, big oversteer again as he goes across the slick line. But Harry Stewart, it seems, has done everything he needs to come away with a fantastic heat victory. Heat 3 goes to Stewart, and it is going to be Daniel Gow in second place, Max Lumsden completing the podium, and Cameron De Bruyn finishing in fourth place. So our top 4 exactly the same as they were when they started, but John Billington coming home in P5 there with Chris Nankerville 6th, Bevan Hammond rounding out the top 8, Isaac Ruse ending up retiring with Dylan DeBono and Braden Miller not taking to the grid. Time for Heat 4 then, Joel Berkeley, the man to beat in ODSE, starting on pole position with Scott Reed alongside him, Hayden Vickers and Aidan Bierlein in fourth place with Garrett Halsey and Tyler Bish on row 3. It's Travis Parrott and Daniel Weaver on the fourth row with Thomas Mitchell, Matthew Ralph, and Bob King rounding out our 11-car field. And still not sure as to whether Bob King is actually going to take to the grid. It doesn't seem like he's there just yet with only 5 seconds left on the gridding time. And as the timer reaches 0, we are only going to be seeing 10 cars in this fourth heat of the night. But Joel Berkeley, he was absolutely unstoppable in the big block modifieds, but everyone gives him a bit more of a run for his money in the sprint cars, but you can never count Joel Berkeley out. He always seems to put himself in a successful position.
Yeah, and even when he doesn't and ends up starting at the back of the field, he still manages to somehow find his way to the front of the field and end up cleaning up anyway. So it'll be interesting to see what happens tonight and whether he's going to be able to start the series off with a bang or whether he's going to end up in a little bit of strife. But nevertheless, he's going to be showing everybody how it's done, that's for sure.
Indeed he is. Testing the grip out there are the drivers. The number 27 of Scott Reed just lurching forward there, seeing how much grip is available up there on the cushion as the green flag will fly. And can't count out the likes of Tyler Bish, because I remember in the Cricky Boys shootout, Bish certainly made some headlines trying to work his way through the field. He's pretty strong in sprint cars.
He's certainly quite handy behind the wheel of one of these machines, so we'll have to keep an eye on him, and he should be able to make his way on through to the transfer spot. But nevertheless, we'll have to wait and see as we've got 8 laps ahead of us, and Joel Berkeley is getting ready to go, and a very, very equal start from everybody there.
Yeah, the most even start we've seen all night, but it's still Berkeley leading the way into turn 1. Scott Reed slots into second. Hayden Vickers and Aidan Bierlein side by side for third and fourth. And Vickers almost getting into the back of Scott Reed as they come round to the end of lap 1. The transfer spot is wide open at the moment. Currently Bierlein in fourth, but oh no, there we go. Contact with Garrett Halsey, and Halsey's been sent to almost the back. Travis Parrott, I think, having an incident on lap 1 and not able to get himself going again. Joel Berkeley's already pulled out a gap in the lead, so from second on back, that's where it's at. Scott Reed, Hayden Vickers and Aidan Bierlein, with Tyler Bish now working his way up here, running a tight line and putting himself in contention here for the transfer spot.
Yeah, certainly is putting himself in very, very good contention at the moment as Vickers throws a slide job on the car beside him of Scott Reed. Reed does the same thing to him on the way through turns 1 and 2. Can't quite get the drive off the corner as he ends up all sorts of sideways in the slick. And now Bish is coming around the outside nearly. No, sorry, that's Bierlein. And he's got that one done. And now his next target is Hayden Vickers.
Indeed, it is. Beerline really pressuring Vickers now. They want to trade those spots again, as that's a big slide job from Matthew Ralph, and that was way overcooked there. He's collected a few cars with Tyler Bish and Scott Reed involved in that as well. Reed, of course, competing for the podium. Immediately, Matthew Ralph has been black flagged. I don't think that was the smartest move for him to make.
Yeah, it wasn't really going to end too well, but it's on between these two as Beerline's going to manage to get the drive off the corner and absolutely sail on by Vickers. Berkeley is going to take the victory in Heat 4, and Beerline's going to come away with second, Vickers third, and Thomas Mitchell coming away with the final transfer spot.
Yeah, Mitchell missing his front wing there as well. He was involved in that incident where Matthew Ralph did the slider and collected those cars. Those are the unofficial results there with Berkeley, Beerline, Vickers, and Mitchell. Your top four, they'll go straight through to the feature. Garrett, Halsey in fifth with Bish, Parrott, Reed, Ralph, and Weaver rounding out the 10 cars here at the present time. Daniel Weaver, I think, having to retire after an incident on lap 2. It is time for the fifth heat, and this is going to be Daniel Hardigan's race to lose. He starts on pole alongside Josh Barry, Matthew Gowans and Bradley Minshall in third and fourth, with Daniel Selleck and Brad O'Brien making up row 3. Let's see if Brad O'Brien can work his way up. Greg Chandler and Damien Parle on row 4, with Sean Stevens and Jaden Russell rounding out the 10 cars here in Heat 5. And Jaden Russell coming home with a podium position in the virtual Cricky Boys shootout just a few weeks ago. He was fantastic on the restarts at the dirt track at Charlotte. Can't wait to see how he works his way up through this field. Starting at the back, it's going to be a very tough order.
Yeah, it certainly is going to be a tough order, but he shouldn't have too many issues finding his way on a bye, as we know he's got some very, very good pace under him, so shouldn't have too many issues, but he's going to have to make sure that he avoids all the drama that's going on in front of him, especially from what we've seen in the past few heats of this night so far, where everybody seems to have a little bit of issues getting on the way through turn 1 in the first few laps at least.
Yeah, hopefully the runs through turn 1 can clean up a little as the night goes on. Daniel Hardigan in the Cricky car. Hardigan, of course, one of the many real-life dirt oval races that take part here in Oceanic Dirt Sim events. I'm really liking the spec maps on that car. Very shiny as we come through in the sunset conditions here at Volusia. Depending on how slowly the feature goes, we might see the lights come on here towards the end, but we're going to get a start here pretty soon. Pace truck comes in. It is Hardigan and Barry side by side. Hardigan goes early, catches them all by surprise, and has a couple of car links as they come across the line for the first time. Matthew Gowan slotting into third, but a great run round the outside from Bradley Minshall. Sails on past him. A bit of contact between Brad O'Brien and Matthew Gowans, and Gowans is getting absolutely swamped here. He's in the bottom 5 now.
Yeah, he certainly isn't having a great time at all, and nor is Jane Russell at the moment. He's just getting absolutely roadblocked by everybody around him. O'Brien's trying to make that bottom side work at the front, though, not quite going to be able to get it done. As a big slide job from Greg Chandler nearly makes it work, but O'Brien managing to get around the outside, and that's not gone well for O'Brien at all, managing to barely keep it straight, but he's fallen all the way to the back as a result.
Yeah, Chandler was running him a bit close to the wall there, and he's gotten a black flag for his troubles. He's going to finish down the order as a result, but Daniel Hardigan still holds on to the lead, and Josh Barry doesn't seem as able to extract the pace he needs. There's the number 8 of Matthew Gowans we focus on at the moment. He's trying his best to get up to the back of Chandler and Minshall. Remember, Chandler has a black flag over his head right now. Bit too wide into turn 1, loses some ground there as the number 26 of Sean Stevens looks to capitalize.
He certainly does want to try and capitalize. If he can gain one more place, he'll end up in with an automatic transfer into the feature. Nearly has a slide job at Matthew Gowans, but not quite able to do it in the end. Trying the slider line, but it just doesn't quite seem to be working at this point in time.
Yeah, it doesn't seem to be at all. Daniel Hardigan out in front is experimenting with tighter lines at the moment. He can afford to do that as down the inside goes Matthew Gowans, not able to get past Chandler on track as it is Hardigan taking the win with Josh Barry and Bradley Minchell completing the podium, and Gowans will be promoted back into that 4th place transfer spot. Fantastic result there. And Sean Stevens and Jaden Russell completing the top 6. We'll be seeing them in the B main with Selleck, Parl, O'Brien, and Chandler rounding out the field. And Brad O'Brien, well, he tried his best to work his way up, but just couldn't get it done. Was put back in the end. It's time for the C main, though, and it's Ash Hammond and Scott Reed on pole for it. Damien Parl and Jamie Budd on row 2, with Alex Attard and Isaac Roos completing the top 6. Matthew Ralph and Brad O'Brien in 7th and 8th, and it's Jackson Delamont and Jason Crawford who round out the top 10.
This is going to be very, very fascinating to see what happens, but you're going to have DeBono, Weaver, Chandler, Burke, Lacey, Miller, and King to round out the 17-car field. Only 2 go through from this C main to the B main, so it's going to be all the pressure in the world that you can possibly imagine for everybody outside those top 2 starting positions at the moment.
Yes, indeed. Matthew Ralph and Greg Chandler still having those black flags over their heads. They've both been given an end-of-line penalty by race control, so they're going to make their way to the back row of the grid. So it'll be up to them to try and make their way through the field cleanly. But as you say, Cam, with only the top 2 spots transferring through to the B main, it's going to be a very tough order for those guys to make their way up in this 16-car field, with Bob King, of course, not taking to the grid once again.
And this is a very, very competitive 16-car field, as well as there's a lot of quick drivers who should be really in the A main, or should be starting further up at least, but it's certainly going to be a lot of hard work for pretty much everyone to make their way through to the top turn. It's anybody's guess as to who the top 2 are going to end up being in the end, with it being a little bit longer of a race as well.
Yeah, it's going to be 10 laps, this C main here. The B main, meanwhile, is going to be 14 laps. So much more work for the drivers to do here as we come up to the end of the second formation lap. Pace truck is going to come in. Scott Reed will be looking for some redemption here after getting smashed to the back of the field. The green flag flies and we are live for the B main. It's a good start from Ashley Hammond, but not quite the dominant run that we've seen from pole sitters in the past. Still leads the way into turn 1. Scott Reed is giving him a big challenge here with some great drive off the corner, so the lead is definitely on, and we can't count out Alex Attard, Damien Parl, Isaac Roos, as well as we see a couple of cars getting into the wall. And oh no, Brad O'Brien's been sent straight into the wall. No, sorry, that's Jason Crawford that's been sent into the wall coming through turn 1. Very tight field here as Hammond doesn't seem to be getting away. There's a big incident in the midfield though. Oh, Isaac Roos bounced off the wall, and we've got cars upside down here. Daniel Weaver, Jamie Budd, Greg Chandler, and Isaac Roos all the way to the back. The race continues though, no cautions here in the B main, and Chandler's just managed to get going as the leaders have made their way through. Alex Attard is having a run here at the race lead. The slide job is there, but Ashley Hammond's going to come back at him here across the start-finish stretch. What a fantastic battle for the lead this is.
It certainly is. As now here comes Alex Attard back down the inside on the way into turn 3 and throws a slide job to make it back into the lead of the race for the meantime. You can't count out Scott Reed either, who's all over the back of these guys, and now Damien Powell is also getting involved too.
Yeah, Damien Powell and Matthew Ralph, who started from the back. Ralph makes it too wide with Damien Powell, and no change for position between the two of those for the time being. Damien Powell getting a great run off the corner. Alex Attard, having made his way into the lead, is starting to skip away as there's another slide job for Matthew Ralph, trying to make his way past Damien Powell. And Scott Reed's starting to fall into the back of these guys. Contact. Damien Powell's gotten into the wall.
Yeah, and that's pretty much his race over, as that was a reasonably big impact there, and unfortunately he's had to tow back to pit lane, so his night is over. And now Scott Reed's having to deal with Matthew Ralph throwing a few slide jobs as well, so he's got his hands full. But at the front of the field, Attard is just running away with this, and he really only needs to just bring it home from here, and same with Hammond.
Yeah, exactly. The top two are well and truly secured. So Scott Reed and Matthew Ralph are fighting for honours at the moment. Another slider for Matthew Ralph. That's going to be Alex Attard coming away with victory. Ashley Hammond in second. They'll transfer through to the B main. Matthew Ralph completes the C main podium, but he and everyone behind him are going to have to go home here tonight, hang up the helmet, and have another run of it next week.
Yeah, certainly going to be a few drivers wanting redemption next week with the fact that they've not made it through to the B main or even the A main for that matter. So a few broken hearts, unfortunately, but that is the way that it goes.
Indeed it is. Brad O'Brien, Dylan DeBono, Chris Lacey and Bob King not taking to the grid there, so their night's well and truly over as well. Time for the B main. Last race before we have a quick break and go through to the pole dash. Clayton Tilley and Tristan Yelland are going to be starting on the front row with John Billington and Garrett Halsey on the second row. Sean Stevens and Ethan Bastian, 5th and 6th. But Ethan Bastian has had some internet issues. Don't know if he'll take to the grid. Nathan Norman and Chris Nankerville on row 4 with Tyler Bish and Jaden Russell rounding out the top 10.
And you go over the page, and you're going to have Trent Gosley in 11th, Blake Walsh in 12th, Max Bevan starting in 13th with Travis Parrott and Damien Salek rounding out the top 15, and then Alan Silliott followed by Joshua Dennison, Alex Attard and Ashley Hammond transferring from the C main to round out to the B main field.
So there's a little bit more room to work with for these drivers. The top 4 going to transfer through into the A main here, but with 19 cars, the job has been made even harder. And Alex Attard and Ashley Hammond are going to have to work their way through all of those cars over the next 14 laps if they want any chance of taking to the feature grid tonight. Trent Gosley and Jaden Russell will be looking to make their way up as well. They're starting a bit out of where they would usually expect to be starting on a grid like this. So I reckon we're going to be seeing some big moves from those guys.
Certainly going to be seeing a lot of big moves from a lot of drivers, especially with the fact that it's only 4 transferees from the B main to the feature too. So it's going to be some very hotly contested transfer spots between all 19 drivers, really, especially those from the back from the C main. But pace car is off, green flag is in the air, and it's a little bit of a poor getaway from Clayton Tilley there and everybody else as well, as they're all stacking up behind.
Yeah, Tristan Yelland overran it a bit. He had to back off, and that sent him all the way back into the field. That's created a bit of a concertina in the midfield. But Clayton Tilley is going to lead the way across lap 1. And oh, big slide there from Nathan Norman. There was a bit of contact there as the number 54 of Ethan Bastian tries to work his way through. We've got cars coming together at the back. 2 cars involved, Max Bevan and Tyler Bish. Bish manages to keep going, but Bevan ultimately retiring. So now Garrett Halsey is really pressuring Clayton Tilley for the victory here. John Billington getting his nose into it as well.
Yeah, certainly very, very hotly contested at the moment for those top 3 positions, as with connection issues for Halsey there, but Billington's still not letting it get away at the moment, and Stevens as well just looming in the background, trying to hold on to this 4th place position. But you've got Jaden Russell and Ethan Bastian as well as Nathan Norman all coming with a head of steam not too far behind.
Yeah, Nathan Norman running the low line, trying the slide job. It's not working for him. He's lost momentum. Ethan Bastian is going to come through and take 5th place from him and now put himself in contention for the transfer spot. But Nathan Norman going for it again. They trade places, and the 27 of Jaden Russell looking to capitalise. Oh, that was very close to the tyre bundles there for Ethan Bastian. You've got to be very careful in the last turn here at Volusia, because those tyres stick out and they can absolutely ruin your day. Clayton Tilley is getting away in the lead. So these close battles here for second on back are where it's at the moment, as Billington goes for it on Halsey. Nearly goes for it. Oh no! Oh no, Jaden Russell, yes, with a spin. Put himself all the way back in the field. I don't know if that's going to be night over for him.
There's actually between himself and Blake Walsh. Walsh driven in a little bit too deep on the way into turn one. Unfortunately, Russell not going to be happy at all with that, as he was really on for a transfer spot there. But Nathan Norman is still trying to make that bottom line work at the moment. He's making it work quite well, actually, compared to everybody else around him, especially Stevens, who's not quite got the pace on the top side of the racetrack at the moment. And you can see the difference between the two of them. And Norman seems to have the mid-corner rotation and the mid-corner drop, but just can't quite seem to have the momentum on his side on the exits.
Yeah, that's the trouble as the track goes into this state at the moment. But this second place battle, the American Garrett Halsey still holding on to second place. Slight technical issue for him as Sean Stevens and John Billington almost come together. Nathan Norman is going to make it a three-way battle for third place. Remember, that's the transfer spot for them. Penultimate lap begins for Clayton Tilley and for everyone else behind him. Ooh, firing up the racetrack is John Billington and Sean Stevens trying to work the cushion. It looks like Garrett Halsey there is safe in second place. Final lap begins.
It's going to be all hell is about to break loose for those final transfer spots between Stevens, Norman and Bastian. Who is going to take this one away is really the big question, but it's looking like it might just be enough. Tilley's going to end up winning. Halsey's going to come home second. Billington's going to come home third. And it looks like Stevens has just done enough to come home with the final transfer spot.
That was a very close battle for that transfer spot. We might be seeing more of the same in the feature. So it's Tilley, Halsey, Billington and Stevens. They're your top four, with Norman, Bastian, Attard, Walsh, Gosley and Selleck rounding out the top 10. Everyone from fifth place on back, unfortunately, going to have to go home here. With Jaden Russell, well, he had a run potentially at a top four. It's not going to happen for him, with Ash Hammond, Travis Parrott, Nankerville, Yelland, Dennison and Solid 17th, with Bevan and Bish rounding out the 19 cars. That's the first part of racing done, and we're going to be getting going very shortly here for the pole dash. The top two from every heat coming forward in an out-and-out race here to decide pole position. This is going to be a very tough one, because the track is very different from when a lot of these drivers first started racing on the cleaner track. This is going to be a 6-lap dash, so there's going to be quite a bit of hard racing going on here. It looks like Harry Stewart and Joel Berkeley further towards the front of the field, with Tim Ryan and Braden Shute, of course, taking that front row.
Certainly going to be very, very hardly fought between all of these drivers, really, and there's no real obvious winner as to who's going to be coming away with what position in this shootout as well. So really looking forward to seeing who's going to be coming away with the front row start and who's going to have to start a little bit deeper in the field.
Yes, indeed. It's going to be quite the difference made here in this pole dash. But Tim Ryan, starting on the inside, is going to have the advantage off the start, and we'll see if he can hold on to claim pole position for the first round of 360 Power Series 2. The Altus Esports driver puts the foot down and gets a very good start. Braden Shute not quite able to respond. That's allowed Harry Stewart to get alongside, as there's an awful lot of jostling further back in the field. Daniel Hardigan now on his lonesome, as there's a great big battle behind, with Aidan Beerline taking himself. And oh, goodness me, Hardigan, as they come around to start lap 2, went over a rut, and looks like that really unsettled him. He's going to fall back here.
Oh, and he's going to get a little bit of contact as well as Joel Berkeley, with the likes of a few others. Beeline, unfortunately, copping a whack or two, and he's going to drop in behind the likes of Josh Barry and that, but it's 3 wide on the way through turn 1. Tim Ryan's absolutely running away with this one, although he's got Braden Shute for company at the moment, who's applying the pressure in bucket loads, and Harry Stewart not too far behind as well, but you look behind and it's all going off.
Lap 4 of 6 at the moment, and Daniel Gow has had a crash there. He is out. Coming around to start lap 5 now. Tim Ryan leads the way with Braden Shute in second place. Harry Stewart in third.
Oh, no, Hobson.
Oh,
In the
yeah.
wall.
Looks like Brenton Hobson getting into the wall there. And that's set him back a fair way. Final lap for Tim Ryan going all the way to the inside. There's a very small strip of fresh clay down on the bottom that he can use. And it looks like he's done enough here to come away with the win in the pole dash. And that's going to be pole position for the A-main tonight. Braden Shute's going to start in second with Harry Stewart starting in third. Goodness me, that was a bit of a frenetic pole dash there.
It certainly wasn't. Hardigan's going to be in 4, Berkeley 5, Bearline in 6, and then you got Dixon at Barry, and then Hobson to round out the finishes.
Well then, that is pole position decided. Tim Ryan is going to be your pole man for round 1 of 360 Power Series 2 here at Volusia Speedway Park. We're going to step aside briefly and catch our breath after that non-stop run of fast and furious dirt racing. You're watching SimSpeed TV.
Hey everyone, the USF 2000 is a blast to drive now, and here's your chance to learn it quickly. From my tutorial, VRS created a free bonus track guide for the Laguna Seca circuit, where you can learn exactly what I do in every corner to improve your lap times and get faster on track. You'll learn how to easily recognize brake markers, you'll find out which curves to attack and which ones to avoid, you'll know when to use the full track and when a sequence of corners requires a compromise, and you'll learn how hard to brake and when to lift. The VRS Quick Reference track maps are available free to download and delivered each week to your inbox. The entire Global MX-5 series is available, as well as bonus maps like this one and many more. So if you're a new racer, or a veteran, or just anyone who wants to learn how to get faster sooner, the VRS track guides are for you. Just hit the link or button on screen and get yours today.
Are you spending a lot of time looking for setups and struggling for faster lap times? Are you tired of searching online for answers? Would you like to get setups, analysis and tutorials from some of the best sim racers in the world like Ralph Fowler, Mitchell de Jong, Martin Krunker, Josh Rogers and many more? If so, virtualracingschool.com is the answer you've been looking for. VRS data packs provide hot laps from our professional coaches for you to analyse and replicate. They provide tutorials that walk you through the fastest laps and what the pros did to achieve the best times. And they provide the setups you need to ensure your car is competitive in both oval and road racing. If you're ready to get faster and reach more podiums sooner than later, just go to virtualracingschool.com and sign up for a free account today.
This is fantastic. This is GT racing right now.
He's got traction, he's got everything outside of both of them! Maloney!
Oh, he's taking Anderson. Anderson's up to
Oh my god!
Oh.
Big crash! Oh my goodness, half the field's gonna get rolled!
Second very close. These guys are want to make their way through the field very quickly.
Oh, there we go! Oh no!
That's massive! This is it! This is over! I can't believe this! Oh my god!
God, what?
You're watching SimSpeed TV, the Oceanic Dirt Sim Events 360 Sprint Car Power Series 2, presented by SRT Australia. We're going to come through now to the A-main after a long and tough night of racing for everyone in this field. But it's going to be Tim Ryan and Braden Shute on the front row here, with Harry Stewart and Joel Berkeley lining up on row 2. Row 3 is going to be Daniel Hardigan and Brenton Hobson. Oh, what a surprise. Brenton Hobson starting 6th. Jacob Dixon and Daniel Cow are going to line up on row 4, with row 5 being Aidan Beerline and Josh Barry rounding out the top 10.
And you're going to have Daniel Evans and Cooper Dunn, followed by Max Lumsden, Hayden Vickers, and Bradley Mitchell round out the top 15. Lachlan Barberry in 16th, Joe Daly in 17th. 18th will be Cameron De Bruyne, followed by Thomas Mitchell and Matthew Gowans to round out the top 20, with Tilly, Halsey, Billington, and Stevens rounding out the 24-car field from the B main transfers.
Indeed, the top 4 from the B main there taking up the last 4 spots on the grid. The drivers all move away. This is going to be a 30-lap race here in the A main, and of course, as is tradition with Oceanic Dirt Sim events, we have got the manual lap counter, and that's going to be quite interesting. If a caution ends up coming out, we're not going to be counting these laps, and depending on how rough the drivers would like to get, it's certainly going to be a long night, or it could be a very short one. We certainly don't know at this stage, but Tim Ryan going to be starting on pole here, and the race is his to lose.
Yeah, it certainly is, but he's got some very, very stiff competition starting behind him as well, so he's going to have to keep on his feet and make sure that he's not going to end up falling into the clutches of the likes of Stewart, Berkeley, Hardigan, or even Hobson, or anybody else in this field, as it's absolutely stacked from head to toe.
Absolutely is. And we wait for the green flag to fly. A great first round of the 360 Power Series so far, and the green flag flies. Tim Ryan leads the way into turn 1, with Braden Shute going a bit wide there to let Harry Stewart and Daniel Hardigan keep up their momentum. Joel Berkeley heads up the charge from behind, with Aidan Beerline making it around the outside, forcing Berkeley to go narrow. Braden Shute really giving Tim Ryan a run for his money here, as the field are all incredibly close together.
Yeah, they certainly are very, very close together, especially those top 4 at the front. Tim Ryan seems to have just a little bit of an edge over Braden Shute, but Daniel Hardigan is pressuring Shute very, very hard and trying to look for a way on by at the moment, but just seems to be everybody running at that middle line at the moment. And Hardigan's got to be careful, because if he gets it wrong at some point, he's going to leave himself open to attack from Harry Stewart, who's been the first pioneer to go up to the top side of the racetrack and try and see if there's anything up there and see whether the cushion is really worth running at the moment. It doesn't look like he is, because he's lost a heap of ground to the drivers ahead.
Yeah, certainly has. Aidan Beerline trying to keep it side by side, moves ahead of Stewart, but the top 3 are super duper close here, with Daniel Hardigan pressuring Braden Shute, pressuring Tim Ryan. Love this battle. They've managed to keep it close and clean at the same time, with Ryan getting a good drive off the corner. Hardigan as well, he's going for the inside on Braden Shute, and they could potentially slow each other up here, allow Harry Stewart and Aidan Beerline to get up onto the back of them. Slight contact between Shute and Hardigan has allowed Ryan to skip away a little.
It certainly has allowed Tim Ryan to build a little bit of a gap to the rest of the field at the moment. Doesn't quite seem he has the pace on the way down the front straight or through turn 1 either, but he just seems to get the drive through 3 and 4 quite nicely. So we'll see how this is going to pan out over the course of the race. But further back in the field, Hayden Vickers has got his hands full with everyone around him. You've got the likes of Berkeley, Dunn, Hobson, and all of them really trying on a big smash for Berkeley.
Yeah, Garrett Halsey was stopped up there at the top of the circuit. The caution is out, and Joel Berkeley stuck outside the racetrack. He's going to have to pull back into the pits, I reckon, and that's going to be night over for Joel Berkeley. And he's already made his displeasure known to Garrett Halsey there. We're going to get a virtual racing school replay, and it looks like Cameron De Bruyne, who was having technical issues, went into Garrett Halsey and spun him around. You're going to see it here on the virtual racing school replay. Big hit there. I don't know if that was De Bruyne or Matthew Gowans who ultimately made the contact with Garrett Halsey, but with Halsey being in America, that's certainly put paid to that. And, well, Joel Berkeley running the high line. Halsey had absolutely nowhere to go there as the field went by. Neither did Berkeley.
Yeah, unfortunately, both drivers suffering massive damage, especially Berkeley, who's pretty much had his night completely ruined as a result of that. And he was on for a reasonable result, but it's not going to be the night that he would have hoped for in the end, unfortunately. So that's not the way that he will have hoped to have started his campaign in this series. But so far, it's been absolutely on at the front of the field between those top three.
Yeah, it's been a great fight for the top three here between Ryan, Hardigan and Shute. Garrett Halsey says he was expecting a yellow to come out when he spun, but didn't get one. So race control, I think, a bit slow on the uptake there, unfortunately, but we're going to continue. The laps not counting here, and you'll see in the top left corner that it says 12 of 60. 60 is the maximum amount of laps that we're going to be running tonight. The actual race distance is 30 laps, so we'll make sure to let you know when that happens. We're currently on lap 9 of 30, and as we get the green flag once again, it is Tim Ryan leading the way. Contact between Hardigan and Shute, though, off the start. They locked wheels, and Shute had to go to the inside as the caution is already out again. That is a big crash at the back of the field there. Yeah, Josh Barry, indeed. That's going to be worth another virtual racing school replay. And coming off the start, Brenton Hobson involved in that as well. It looks like Aidan Beerline was making his way through on the inside of Josh Barry, and that's what sent him into the slide. Unfortunately, with the field as packed together as it was, there was nowhere for any of the other drivers to go. This is what happened.
And you can see coming down at the front straight, it just looks like everybody got a little bit too wiggly, and unfortunately Beerline making contact with Berry there, and then the rest of it's just turned into absolute chaos with Hobson and Vickers and various others unfortunately involved in that carnage at turn 1. And Hobson tried to get back on his wheels and did not succeed, unfortunately.
So it looks like Brenton Hobson is another casualty of this race. We've lost 3 drivers so far: Garrett Halsey, John Berkeley and Brenton Hobson. The restarts have been changed to single file because of back-to-back cautions. That is part of the Oceanic Dirt Sim Events rulebook. If there are back-to-back cautions or a caution within the final 10 laps of the race, then that's going to result in a single file restart. So we're currently on lap 10 of 30 at the moment. Time rapidly running out for the drivers to capitalise, but Tim Ryan has been doing everything right so far, with Harry Stewart making his way up into 3rd place thanks to the contact at the restart between Braden Shute and Daniel Hardigan.
Yes, it's going to bunch the entire field up, really, and it's going to bring a few more back into the possible fight. Daniel Gower's going to be back in at Cooper Dunn as well, but back to green flag racing, and very, very nice restart from Tim Ryan, using a completely different line to what everybody else was using, trying to go a little bit higher off the restart. It seems to work from quite well. Hardigan trying to make that low line still work, but Harry Stewart coming around the outside of all of them, and then behind Braden Shute's got his hands full with Aidan at Barleen as well.
Indeed he has. Harry Stewart's running all the way up to the wall, but you see Braden Shute, Adrian Beerline, with Jacob Dixon, Cooper Dunn, Daniel Gow, Thomas Mitchell and Clayton Tilley all in a pack behind. Very close racing for drivers in the lower reaches of the top 10. Tim Ryan has been skating away here at the front, and Daniel Hardigan trying his best to respond. He's got a bit of a kick up from Harry Stewart, who's really starting to pile the pressure on himself.
Yeah, he certainly is starting to pile the pressure on himself at the moment. Still continuing to try that top line is Harry Stewart, and has decided to come down onto the bottom of the racetrack where everybody else seems to be at this stage, but deciding to run a little bit higher possibly compared to everybody else, trying to make something work, but it doesn't quite seem to be working in his favour. Daniel Gallo getting up the inside of Jacob Dixon to make that P6, but Dixon trying to hold it through the middle of the track, but going to be no grip there this time by the stripes, so it's going to be in favour of Gal holding that position, but everybody trying to find a little bit of grip here, there, and everywhere, really.
Yeah, and there's not much grip to be found as, oh, have a look at that fighting further back with the yellow car there of Jacob Dixon trying to make his way past Daniel Gow. This 4-car battle still incredibly close with Clayton Tilley now working the high line, trying to find a little bit of extra pace there as there was a bit of a wiggle there from Jacob Dixon. And that's allowed Tilley alongside him. Daniel Gow, though, blocking the way through on the inside. Tilley's going to try and push him here into turns 3 and 4. And, oh, getting onto the slick there was Daniel Gow. That's allowed Tilley through and now up into 6th place. Jacob Dixon now running that high line. But he has not managed to capitalise on that. That's allowed Thomas Mitchell through then into 8th place. Tilley, though, pushing a bit too hard there through turn 4. That's allowed Daniel Gow back through.
Yeah, it certainly is, but Tilley's going to try run the cushion right up against the outside wall and drag both of them out in the end, and it's going to take that position off both of them, so he'll move into P6 for the time being, but those behind aren't giving up at all as it's Jake Dixon in the wall big time.
Oh yeah, very big time there for Jacob Dixon. Unfortunately, that's going to be put paid to his night and put further back in the field. There's now going to be 7 laps to go when Tim Ryan crosses the line next. He started on pole and he has led all the way in this A main. 7 laps to go now in the 360 Power Series 2 at Volusia, and running the extreme high line with Daniel Hardigan working the extreme low line. Seems like Harry Stewart's just not able to get a look in here in this battle. As Braden Shute holds on to 4th place. Clayton Tilley in P6, still trying to fight off the advances of Thomas Mitchell and Daniel Gow here. And Daniel Gow gets up the inside of Thomas Mitchell there, almost 3 wide there through turns 3 and 4. But Clayton Tilley seems pretty comfortable there up on the high line. He's just got to be careful to keep it out of the wall.
Yeah, he certainly does need to just keep it out of the wall at the moment, and you'll be home at free.
Hayden Vickers is becoming the first bit of traffic that our leaders will encounter as they have 5 laps to go, soon to be 4. Doesn't seem to have gotten in the way of the leaders too much, which is good to see. 4 laps to go now for Tim Ryan up at the front, running the extreme high line. And it seems that the top 3 have been well and truly settled for the time being, so the main battle here is for 6th place between Mitchell and Gow, because Tilley has really fallen off the back of them.
Yeah, he certainly has really fallen off the back of them entirely, and he's trying to make that top line work, but doesn't seem to be really working at all for him at the moment. So I'd say that top line is completely burnt off at this stage, and the bottom side is really starting to work, especially for Daniel Gow, who's getting held up by traffic, and that's not what he will have wanted at all, as Thomas Mitchell is going to get on by and have a little bit of a gap now.
So there's Thomas Mitchell up into P6, up 13 positions from where he started as the final lap begins for Tim Ryan. And I mean, what more can you say about this guy? He's a sprint car master. Pole position in qualifying, won his first heat, and waiting all the way to the feature, crosses the line, and that is going to be checkered flag. Leading every single lap is Tim Ryan. Perhaps the perfect run. You couldn't have asked for more.
He certainly couldn't have asked for more, and started his campaign off in the best way possible. A very, very strong night for Hardigan and Stewart as well to come away with podiums.
Indeed, Ryan, Hardigan and Stewart are your top 3 as Tim Ryan begins his celebrations, or at least tries to. Wow, what a race to start off the season. Cannot wait for the next rounds of this 8-round championship. There's going to be plenty more of this to come.
Yeah, it certainly is, and can't wait to see what the rest of the season is going to hold with the schedule that we've got as well. So really, really looking forward to it and seeing, I guess, who's going to beat Tim Ryan.
Indeed. Tim Ryan comes home with $30 cash with Hardigan coming home with $17.50. That's $12.50 for Harry Stewart. It's an extra $2.50 for Tim Ryan for getting the quick time, and I would suspect that driver that finished in 6th place, the name escapes me.
Thomas Mitchell, that's the one.
Thomas Mitchell, that's correct. Thomas Mitchell is going to get an extra $2.50 there, I believe, for the Hard Charger Award in the A-Main, thanks to BB7 setups. Apologies for that slight mental blank there, but hey, it wouldn't be a SimSpeed broadcast without a Gardner gaff, would it? So, top 3 confirmed there. Ryan, Hartigan and Stewart is the order in which they cross the line, and we've already got a couple of them there in the interview booth, so we can begin our post-race coverage immediately. Here is feature winner Tim Ryan. Welcome to the commentary box, Tim. That Logitech G Altus eSports car looked incredibly quick today.
Yeah, boys, how are you? Yeah, it wasn't a bad race. To be honest, a little bit struggled early on. I wouldn't say I had great pace. I was just able to move around the racetrack pretty well. But yeah, pace wasn't great. Probably just lacked a bit of consistency and wasn't driving the best.
Was that due to the way the track evolved over the course of the night? Because it happens every single time. The slick just ends up moving across the entire width of the racetrack. It seemed that you were trying out the low line initially and then moving high.
Yeah, there was Volusia race is really good in the 360. I was able to run pretty much wherever I needed to on the racetrack. I started off the very first few laps running as close as I could against the inside wall. And then the middle come in a little bit. And it's similar to the pavement ovals. You're trying to find the cool spots on the track when you get a long green flag running. Because a lot of the people are running the middle of the racetrack, which is pretty good at the start of the cautions. But once the track gets hot, it starts getting a little bit greasy in the middle.
Yeah, certainly does. But, I mean, that takes nothing away from your result. You got the quick time, started from pole position in the A-Main, led every single lap, and the race wins. So pretty much the perfect start to your season.
Yeah, that probably makes it sound like I dominated the night probably better than I did. Harry and Daniel kept me very honest. It was a really good race. Hopefully it was good for the broadcast, and I'll see you blokes next week.
Indeed. Just before we let you go, Tim, anyone that you'd like to thank on your car?
Yeah, absolutely. I'd like to thank, obviously, VRS have just come on board recently. It's really good to have a partnership with them, and the recently announced deal with Julian doing the VRS wheel and soon to be pedal sets in Australia. Definitely check it out. Logitech G, Astro Gaming, everyone for putting on the league, and you boys for putting on a killer broadcast. Cheers, boys.
Tim Ryan, feature winner here tonight at Volusia Speedway Park. Second place went to Daniel Hardigan, stood by with Cameron Dance.
Yeah, certainly a very, very strong night for you, Daniel, and not too bad of a start to the series so far.
Yeah, mate, haven't done much practice, so got on 10 minutes before the race, and the lads at AC Sport hooked me up with a pretty good setup there and managed to qualify right and keep my nose clean for most of it.
Well, you certainly went all right. Now, as the race progressed, we saw some interesting lines. Some tried the top, some tried the bottom or stuck to the bottom, some went to the middle. Was there any real obvious signs as to what the line was at all?
Nah, it was a guessing game there. I felt good early when we had full fuel before that first yellow. I was sort of waiting my time behind Tim. It was the first time I've caught him and could see him getting a bit squirrely out of the corners, but I think the yellow gave him some time to regather his thoughts, and he's a class act, so happy to finish second to the GOAT.
It's certainly a little bit of a challenge to try and hunt down Tim Ryan. Well, we head to Cedar Lake next time out. Thoughts and expectations on what to expect?
I've only run there once. I think I've done 50 laps there and almost won the ODSE challenge. I forget the actual name of it, but that's a good track from what I remember, and no expectations, just have fun and then good laugh with the lads.
Fair enough. Well, before I let you go, just any thanks and any shout-outs you want to give?
Yeah, just AC Sports, our sponsors there, Bunbury Kitchens, P1 Race Gear, Cricky Motorsport, ODH Mechanical, Reds Transport, TC Transport, and then just the guys tonight, Bob Gowie for their help, and Cody, who didn't make it tonight, and the other lads.
Well, there you have it, Reese. Very happy second place finisher in Artigan, and I believe you are standing by with our third place man.
Indeed, it's Harry Stewart in the United Sim Sports number 11. Welcome, Harry. Congratulations on your podium. A very strong run. It looked like you and Daniel Hardigan were really challenging Tim Ryan at the start of the feature.
Yeah, it was pretty cool to do a lot of laps without a caution besides the start of the race. I feel like me and Daniel had something for Tim at the start of the race, but at the end he was just too good.
Yeah, notice that you were one of the first drivers to start trying to run the high line. How did you find it?
The three cars in front of me were all nose to tail, so I thought, no, I'm not going to pass them doing the same thing. And tried the top in 1 and 2. It was a bit safer than 3 and 4. It was cheating me entry into 3 to not end up in the catch fence, and it sort of started working there for probably about 5 laps, and then sort of went back to the middle and bottom.
Well, either way, coming home with a podium in round 1, a very strong start to the season for you. So are your expectations high for the next few rounds?
I think Cedar Lakes next week. I've only done, one race there. That was the Grand Slam, and I crashed out at the start of the race. So if I could get a top 10 next week, I'll be happy. And then, all the other tracks, just try and finish and hopefully get a podium at the end of the season.
Well, nonetheless, it's likely going to be third place in the drivers' standings for you coming into that round, so plenty to play for, Harry. Before we let you go, anyone that you'd like to thank?
Just everyone at United Sim Sports, Nat Road Radiators and Auto, West End Mazda, Ad Road Radiators, KCLD Cleaning, and Darcy for spotting me.
That's Harry Stewart there in the number 11, your third place man in the first round of 360 Power Series 2 at Volusia Speedway Park. That brings to an end proceedings for tonight, Cameron. My goodness, what a great round to start off the season. I can't wait for Cedar Lake in a week's time.
Yeah, certainly can't wait to see what we're going to see in terms of results and who's going to be finishing where, and hopefully who's going to be able to take it to Tim Ryan if that's what we're going to be expecting this entire season. So looking forward to it, and yeah, can't wait for it.
Neither can I, and we hope that you all out there watching can't wait either. Make sure to join us here on SimSpeed TV, of course live on YouTube, Facebook and Twitch in 7 days' time for the next round at Cedar Lake Speedway. Big thanks to our series sponsor, SRT Australia. Thank you so much for supporting Oceanic Dirt Sim events and the dirt racing community in Australia and New Zealand, with a few Americans jumping in here from time to time. I'm Reese Gardner, Cameron Dance alongside me, and Jay Kennedy making everything happen behind the scenes. We're SimSpeed TV. That was 360 Sprint Car Power Series 2, Round 1 at Volusia, and it was Tim Ryan who came away with the spoils of victory.
This is fantastic. This is GT racing right now.
He's got traction, he's going with the outside of both of them! Maloney!
Oh, he's taking Anderson. Anderson's up to him.
Oh my god! Big crash! Oh my goodness, half the field's gonna get rolled!
Second very close. These guys are want to make their way through the field very quickly. Oh, here we go.
Oh no!
That's massive. This is it. This is over. I can't believe this. Oh my god.
God, what?